Za'Darius Smith came over as a free agent from the greasy, grimy Green Bay Packers last offseason. Well, quick detour in Baltimore for like a hot second, and then came to the Vikings, the actual purple, and was fantastic last year. Stepped up as a team leader, made the Pro Bowl, 78 regular season pressures, 4th in the league, 53 regular season hurries, 2nd in the NFL, 10 sacks, 19th in the league, 2nd on the team behind Daniil the Real Deal Hunter, and an 84.7 PFF pass rushing grade, 7th in the league. All that with him basically playing on one leg for the second half of the season. He was playing like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate the first half of the season and didn't quite work out the second half, but it is what it is. And this Friday, there was a major milestone in the future of him in purple for season 2, because he's due a $9.45 million salary. That is way below market value, hence why some shenanigans going on. Fully understand that, but $5.05 million of that becomes fully guaranteed, or became fully guaranteed rather, past tense, on Friday, the 3rd day of the new league year. So now the Vikings' options are, well, I don't think that the Vikings were ever going to cut Za'Darius, because he does have trade value, and also I'm sure that the Vikings and Brian Flores would love to run it back with him in year 2, but now the option of cutting him is off the table, because if you cut him now, you would have to pay him $5.05 million either way, and that would be dead on the cap. So it's sort of a moot point at this point. So Kwesi and company, they crossed the Rubicon on Friday, and now they're dealing with Za'Darius going forward. And we know what's been going on this offseason. Za'Darius on the 9th tweeted out the whole "Thank you, Skull Nation, goodbye." Reportedly asked for his release. The team was like, no. And Za'Darius in the process of selling his house, or might have sold his house already. Whatever. It takes a while to sell a house. You know that? But like I said, Za'Darius this season was phenomenal, and even though he's going to be 31 in September, would absolutely love to have him back in purple, even though the Vikings are certainly making contingency plans, signing up free agent Marcus Davenport to a 1-year, $13 million deal. Also, so the Vikings, the Marcus Davenport deal became officially official on Friday, passes physical, all that stuff. But the Vikings, even though the cap is a myth, they do have to do a little bit of cap gymnastics to be able to make cap space, because they're at right about the salary cap limit right when they sign Davenport, and they have to make room for his $13 million salary. So moving Za'Darius in a trade would be the most likely spot, since that would free up $12.1 million in cap space. But going through the various scenarios, well, they can't release him now because they'll have to pay $5.05 million either way, and they could trade him before or during the draft, because Za'Darius' contract is eminently tradable. Any team would love to inherit it, although a part of the deal would they would have to freshen up his contract and make it commensurate with top edge rushers in the game, which he certainly still is when he's healthy and on the field. But that could be something that happens down the line or during the draft, even though this edge rusher class is pretty damn good. Another option would be Za'Darius holds out. And, of course, he could skip voluntary OTAs, but once it gets to mandatory minicamp in June, he could withhold his services. But it's nearly impossible with the new CBA for a player to hold out, because the fines are prohibitive, as well as if a player doesn't show up for X amount of time, their contract tolls. So they just run it back at a later date. So it really is sort of a moot point. Holding out is nearly impossible for a player now. So sort of is what it is. They can also hang on to Za'Darius and trade him before week 1, when the rest of his base salary will become fully guaranteed when he's on the Vikings week 1 53-man rooster. So they could look around the league and see who's inert at pass rush, who has an injury at the edge rusher position, and potentially use that as leverage. The Vikings could keep him, Daniil, and Marcus Davenport, which frankly would be kind of sexy, because given the fact that Daniil and Davenport have positional flexibility, Za'Darius can also rush the passer from the interior. So all these guys moving around, that would make a lot of fun. Like, this would make this man smile. That would certainly be sexy time along the defensive line. So just having 3 alpha meat-eating carnivorous pass rushers in Daniil and Davenport and Za'Darius, yes, triple D, sort of, kind of works out. But in that scenario, I'm very pro player getting paid. But the Vikings certainly would have the prerogative to play hardball with Za'Darius and be like, hey, you signed the 3-year deal. You didn't have to. You could have signed a 1-year deal, but your ego didn't allow it after the Baltimore deal fell apart. So you signed this bad contract. The 3 years, $42 million was really a 1 year, $6.45 million deal. And now we have you at a bargain rate, and you're either going to play here or you're going to play nowhere else. Now, I don't like when teams do that. I like when they work out an equitable situation where it's a win-win for both sides and the player gets their market value. But, I mean, it is what it is. The contract is the contract, and they could certainly Bigfoot Za'Darius if they wanted to. But also they could freshen up his contract. Like they could give him a little bit more guaranteed money. They could shorten the contract. They could void the 2024 season, make it a 1-year deal, and make it around or give him a small pay bump, even though they don't necessarily have to by any means. But having a player happy, certainly, and also certainly the caliber of a player of Za'Darius Smith would make sense. And then, I mean, they could keep him and 99 in Davenport, or don't want to even say it and put it out into the universe. Is this a spot where they keep Za'Darius, they keep Marcus Davenport, and then they trade Danielle Hunter? Because Danielle certainly would be the most valuable trade piece between him and Za'Darius, just given age. And also, I mean, Danielle's due a $4.9 million base salary. And speaking of guys who are massively underpaid, I mean, the Vikings technically could have the services of Za'Darius and Danielle Hunter for just over what they're going to pay Marcus Davenport for one season, which would be wild. It would be completely nuts, and I understand why 99 and 55 would want some more money, especially after Davenport got paid. So I think it's a bit of a pipe dream. They would have to do a lot of cap gymnastics to keep all three, but I mean, how fun would that be? Just getting after the quarterback, man. You got Danielle with his hand in the dirt. You got Davenport and Za'Darius to stand up outside linebackers, or flip Danielle and Davenport and just get after it. Man, it's good times. But yeah, anyways, I'm sure that a lot of the hard feelings in the offseason, they'll get glossed over, once you get closer to the season. And I think that Kwesi is smart enough that he knows that he wants to keep Za'Darius happy. If he's going to be back in purple, get him to show up, give him a little bit more money, give him a little bit more guaranteed, give him his free agency freedom after the year, and then go from there. So I think something could and should be worked out. But right now, it's a little tenuous. A little walking on eggshells, a little bit of drama. It wouldn't be a Vikings offseason if there wasn't contract drama, right? But your thoughts are thoughts. What's the Vikings' plan with Za'Darius Smith after the third day of the new league year deadline passed and over half of his base salary is now fully guaranteed? Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.